Getting ready for mudding. Eliza.
Yesterday went pretty good. We finished putting up the drywall, started taping everything. As you can see now, we're starting to get the mud up on the walls, which is very satisfying. We're just going to be finishing that. We're going to be covering all the screw holes. We're going to go over all the yellow mesh tape that we put up, and we're just going to make it all one wall today. This is one of the situations where we do have to retrace our steps a little bit, because you'll notice how every single one of these has screws about like 6-8 inches depending where it is, and then you'll notice some of them don't. So that one has 8 inches, but once it gets to this drywall it doesn't. So I guess we got a little bit too hasty when we put it up. We're just gonna get some nails up there so that we can continue along. We don't have to worry about that. Just going over and making sure that all the nails and screws have proper spacing to them. It pretty much follows the same rule as the sheathing does for the plywood that we put up. Every 6 inches, every 8 inches in the field. So although it is a different type of material and a different style of putting it up, it still follows the same rule, so it is secure. It doesn't move at all once we put the mud up, so your walls are nice and secure, and it's all just one wall rather than 20. So this one is pretty much just how it is once it comes straight out the package. The reason why we're doing it this way this time on this build is more so, I think it's experimental reasons. But supposedly it's supposed to lay on a little bit better than it does with water. It's supposed to stick to the tape a little bit more so the tape doesn't move around, and it gives you a more solid line once you go down. I'm always excited to see how something new works. I'm always down to try new things and see how effective they are, and if they work pretty good, then stick to it. And if not, try something else. So it seems to be working okay. I like it. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. The way that I'm doing it right now is a little bit slower. But this one I like because of the fact that I typically get a good finish on it every time that I apply it. So I just throw some globs up there and then just run it all the way down. And so that way it gives me a nice solid little beam right there to work with. Oh yeah, 100%. If I were applying this with a little bit of water, it'd be all over the floor right now like this. But since it's not like that, it sticks to the wall a little bit better. It gives me a little bit of leeway when it comes to spreading it all the way down like that. Sometimes it'll even just fall in the pan for you, which is really nice. Got some mesh tape. Okay. So this is the stuff that we stick up on the walls on where the joints of the drywall meet up. And this allows us to put some mud over and smooth it all the way down like you'll see in a couple of seconds.
Why is it important to have mesh tape in there?
It's important because it catches the mud that wants to kind of like divot in between the two joints and cause like a visible, I guess, crack in your walls. it's actually pretty common, because it's a very common mistake for a lot of drywallers to make, is to not make, or they forget typically to make sure that the tape is fully aligned with the wall before they put the mud up, because even a little bit of a crack in the tape can be visible once you put the rest of the mud up and even texture over, and it just looks terrible overall. So that's one thing that we're gonna do right now. We're gonna do that in our bathroom. So if you follow me. Welcome to our humble bathroom, where we're gonna start taping the crap out of it. So this tape is typically rated for straight low corners like this. You'll notice right here. Corners like these, we have a different tape that we put up that has like a little corner slot right there that we can just shove into the corner. But this one, we're just gonna use for the straight walls. So it's pretty easy. It's just like duct tape. Just put it all the way up. Is it sticky at the top? It's got a little adhesive to it, but you do have to kind of guide it a little bit. There we go. You have to be gentle with it as well. Just small little things that you go, huh, that's interesting.
So first you stretch, you measure, and then you cut?
Yep. Thankfully, since it's tape, you kind of you don't have to bust out your measuring tape or anything like that. You just kind of guide it, see where it goes, and then you cut it at the bottom. I'm using tin snips right now because I don't have clippers on me, but thankfully it does the job, so it works out. I used to use my knife for this, but the clippers make a cleaner cut, which is nice. One of the downsides to these is when it's stored inappropriately, sometimes the little weaves right here, see how it's cross-stitched, they could come loose and it could actually go down. Even when it's rolled up, it can affect the majority of the tape roll. So that's just one thing that's kind of a downside to this stuff, but it's just comes down to common sense. Where you store it, make sure you don't throw it around and treat it like a tool, like everything else that you have. Typically won't let you down.
Oh, hey, Edgar. You know whose this is? Just in case you were wondering. Or there's ever any question.
Corners are interesting. It's been a while. One of the things that I find that's interesting with Ideal is since we're doing multiple builds, we get in the habit of each trade. And when we get out of the habit of that, typically when we start a new trade, it's fun trying to pick up where you left off on that other trade. And that's the thing that I'm experiencing right now. I feel like I had this down in the second build, but it's just fun to try to get that momentum going again after being focused on so many other trades. And so right now, I'm just trying to get the corners all nice and lined up so when we put the tape on, it sticks nice and flush. If you want to make money, specialize in one trade. This is just what I've been told by a lot of contractors. But if you want the most out of your experience in construction, it's always nice to know how to do everything. Especially so you don't have to like pay thousands of dollars to have somebody come over and fix something that would only cost you like $100 to fix yourself. We are slapping some tape up right now. So the fun stuff about this corner tape is the fact that this stuff you can't stick on by itself like the mesh tape. This stuff you have to throw mud up first to get it to stick. And so that's exactly what I did for this one. But it is kind of nice because it does have this little seam in it that you can just fold, and you just stick it right in the corner right there. Kind of tuck it in there. There we go. Kind of push it all the way down. So the mud's a little thick on this one, but that just means once you spread it out, that tape is going to stay nice and in place. And so we can continue putting the rest of it on it without any fear that it's going to move, bend, get any air bubbles in it. It's going to be nice and secure. So the reason why we're squeezing out the mud like this is so it flattens it to the wall even more. And so that way it's nice and seamless. You can't tell where the tape starts or the drywall ends. And that's key when it comes to doing drywall, is you don't want to see the drywall at all. Kind of like playing hide and go seek, but with a lot of mud. It's kind of like the Terminator, how he just bathes himself in mud so the predator can't see him. Just finishing up the corner right here. I miscut one of these, but one of the cool things about this is as long as you slap it on and put some mud over it, it sits in just fine. So now we're going to take our trusty duck knife right here, do the same thing. You want to make sure the boat side is facing out. It's one of those things that is kind of repetitious and a little bit tedious to do, but I love it personally because when it goes on nice and flat, I mean, it's just one of those satisfying feelings that you never really get used to. So this is one of the things that you have to look out for while doing mudding on taping, is sometimes you'll see these like little crevices right there. Right now they don't look too bad. Well, that one looks pretty bad. But if you leave them and you don't notice them, as the drywall dries, it bows out even more and it causes air bubbles to sit in. And you'll notice on some houses, maybe even yours, not the cameraman's, but everybody watching, he's probably got a really nice house. But you might notice some little bubbles that you can press down in your paint. And that's what it comes from, is those little air bubbles that aren't flattened fully. Today went pretty smoothly. We're on course to finish all of our first coats today, so that tomorrow we can sand everything down and get ready to apply the second and the third coat following up.
So this was the first coat for you guys?
Yep, so this was the first coat. The first coat's pretty much the most crucial to put on because the rest following is going to rely on how flat your mudding is. But all in all, I'd say it was a good day. We flew by, and we're still proceeding on schedule, which is a really good feeling.
Very cool. Big takeaway here.
Big takeaway today is trying to do things that are more efficient, yet it's uncomfortable. Today I tried a different way of doing things with a taping knife when it comes to smoothing all out the mud, and it was uncomfortable at first. It felt kind of awkward, especially since it's been a while since I had mudded and taped. But after a while, I could see that it's more efficient, saves time, energy, and everything else, I suppose.